I've been playing WWE games since the PS2 era WWE SmackDown series, mainly for the stupid petty joy of beating the shit out of one of my friends, or getting my own ass smacked down instead. That said, I've been out of the Virtual Arena series for a good number of years now, but when I was unexpectedly given a review copy to check out, well, I couldn't exactly say no to that, now could I? This newest installment in the WWE series was developed by Visual Concepts, who have been helming the WWE series since 2014 with generally hit-or-miss results in the years since. Visual Concepts has also been working on other popular sports franchises including the NFL and NBA games, among other third-party licensed properties, but in the past decade, specifically they've been scaled back to almost exclusively working on WWE and NBA games. On the surface level, one might normally think 2K22 was going to be just another lazy annual installment, but both the developer and its publisher, Take-Two, have been pretty clearly marketing this game as a sort of soft reboot for the series, even going out of their way to supposedly build a new engine for the game to run on, as well as a ton of different game modes and other content for players to enjoy this time around. This would be the WWE game to define the entire next generation of WWE games Take-Two promised. I need hardly tell you that reality didn't come close to meeting that lofty promise. Let's start with the obvious pros before we get to the cons. I assure you it won't take that long. Probably my favorite game mode to have played through at any point is undoubtedly the exhibition modes. When it comes to fighting games, I often favor simplicity. Let me just beat the hell out of the other guy, woman, furry, whatever. Don't make the rule set more complicated than it needs to be. So with that in mind, I didn't get around to playing every single type of match, like the one where you have to climb the ladder before the other team does, because while it can be fun to watch on a TV screen, the game's clunky controls would probably make it anything but actually fun to play yourself, but we'll get to that in a little bit. The variety in exhibition modes is pretty impressive, and that extends beyond just the basic rule sets, but also the arenas themselves. The arenas are all faithfully recreated from the ring itself to the entrance area, to the TV screens or the other set pieces in the background, all of it. One of the only nitpicks that does slightly irk me is how the developers clearly cut corners when it comes to the crowd AI. They don't feel all that responsive. Sure, they'll cheer and stuff and appear very alive during the introduction cutscenes for each of the wrestlers, but once you get out of that pre-rendered scripted stuff, they just kind of exist, nothing more. If one of the wrestlers is mercilessly beating the shit out of another, or about to pin the other one, there should be an enormous buildup of energy in the crowd. It should give you that slight adrenaline rush. Maybe have certain NPCs holding up signs in reference to either the player character or one of the other wrestlers on display, that kind of thing. But instead it seems like any amount of action is met with only mild interest by the crowd. The crowd is so comparatively quiet that even the pin countdown is easily several times louder than the crowd ever is at its loudest. It was fun to check out the assortment of various game modes on display here, especially the basic rule set changes like replacing 1-on-1s with 2-on-2s, 3-on-3s, cage matches, etc. And the many other types of modes that are at the core of WWE fighting. The more people you can stuff in a ring combined with the clunky fighting mechanics, the more ridiculous it looks and feels to play. I'm not even going to beat around the bush here anymore, or around the ring I suppose, as the case may be. The control scheme here on PC is complete and utter dog shit, and when compared with the incredibly slow attack animations, nothing about the actual combat feels fun to play. If a real-life WWE fighter, whether they be in the male or female categories, punched, kicked, and grappled this slow, their ass would be on the mat within the first 2 minutes. And as far as controls go, here's the worst bit. You cannot rebind your keys here on PC. Simply navigating the main menu itself requires you to constantly tap either page up or page down, 2 keys I'm pretty sure most PC players can't even find without looking for them. Why not just allow players to navigate the main menu using the arrow keys, or with WASD, or even better with the mouse itself? What's the point in even crapping out a PC port if you're not going to commit to doing the smallest amount of control fixes? This isn't a small indie studio from the middle of nowhere, this is Take-Two Interactive. They had both the time and the resources to get this right. But it gets worse. Oh, believe me, it gets far worse. 2K22 includes a single-player campaign mode that, sadly, we do have to talk about, called My Rise. And believe me, you'll never get a rise out of playing this unmitigated calamity. You create your own character using this very limited character creation interface, and then you bear witness to a series of completely abhorrent interactable cutscenes, all of which are interactive only in the sense that at some point, an NPC is going to ask you a question, and you have to pick one of only 2 possible responses. And in an overwhelming number of cases, both responses are nothing but variations of one another. And the dialogue is so insanely cringy. The only explanation that comes to my mind is that Take-Two was trying to set up this Grand Theft Auto-like sense of humor, with deliberately over-the-top quasi-realistic stereotypes, except the main distinction is that GTA has good writers who aren't afraid of offending people, and they're actually funny as a result. Good satire isn't about, oh, haha, look at me, I said something funny, I did funny thing, that isn't funny, now laugh at me. Aren't you laughing at me? You should laugh at me more. It actually has to have some substance to it. I laugh at characters like the principal from Bully Scholarship Edition because he's completely ridiculous as a character, but at the same time, so blissfully unaware of how his actions and attitude are causing him to be perceived. That's good writing. And good voice acting, to be honest. This isn't. And by the way, I wasn't looking for good writing per se from a WWE game, but I was expecting it to be like a soap opera, like the backstage WWE stuff always is on TV. After listening to these in-game idiots, I almost wish I was the one being KO'd so I wouldn't have to keep listening to them droning on. On a separate note, I know a lot of pre-release material was going on about the revolutionary graphical fidelity of the game. Believe me, it's nothing revolutionary, but they are fairly solid. I don't want to knock them and say they're not. They're kind of the stuff you'd expect from any early PS4 era game. Not too much to say either way about that. It's solid, but not amazing. Finally, let's touch on the microtransaction side of things. 2K, of course, has never been exactly subtle when it comes to their universally terrible implementations of microtransactions in their sports games, and WWE 2K22 is no exception. Given the relatively universal backlash following the release of NBA 2K22 last year, 2K attempted to get ahead of the criticism leading up to the launch of WWE 2K22 by assuring fans that microtransactions would not be pay-to-win in nature. This is true in most respects, setting aside the fact that, as with their previous sports games, WWE 2K22 does have a card-based deck-building game mode, and one of the only ways to get new cards is by purchasing them outright. The only justification for this not being pay-to-win is that the player only gains an advantage against the game's AI rather than against a fellow human player. This falls into the category of the classic Star Wars line of, what I told you was true, from a certain point of view. If your game has a game mode that is designed to push players towards spending hundreds or thousands of dollars on card packs to gain an advantage over their opponent, even if it's not a human player, it's hard not to, by definition, view this as a pay-to-win design system. Overall, WWE 2K22 is a solid game. As far as fighting games go, it's definitely not anything revolutionary or next generation, but it's just more of the same, and if you like more of the same, then this is probably right up your alley. On that note though, that's where I think I'm going to wrap it up for today. As ever, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to click the like button and comment below what you think of the game. Comments really help my videos get boosted in the algorithm, and plus I read and respond to nearly all the comments I get, so even if you just want to drop a comment to say hi or get my opinion on something, even if it's unrelated, I'll be more than happy to talk with you down below. And if you're new and like this review video, I've got plenty of other review videos on my channel, so odds are you might be able to find something to interest you there. Likewise, subscribing and clicking the bell really helps. I know it's cliche, but the YouTube algorithm is a pain in the ass to deal with, doubly so as a small channel myself. This is Warrior Dan signing out. Stay awesome everybody, stay safe, and peace out.